All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. In this video, we're going to talk about the big fight coming up tomorrow night and the weigh-in that just took place between Shakur Stevenson and Oscar Valdez. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. We are going to talk about the super featherweight division, the 130-pound division, where Oscar Valdez, who is the WBC champion, will be fighting Shakur Stevenson, who is the WBO champion. They just had their weigh-in, an intense weigh-in, and man, you know, from what I could see in that weigh-in, Shakur is a big dude compared to Oscar Valdez. But let's talk about, before we get into that though, let me do what I usually do and thank you again if you're a subscriber and supporter of the channel. Thank you so much for continuing to support the channel. Also, if you're a new subscriber or new to the channel rather, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And thank you to everybody that supports the channel by hitting that like button. Also to the people, you know, that donate with the button down below where you have your super likes. That really does help the channel as well. So you can click that if you're a supporter of the channel. Let's get into this. Man, I am anxious about this fight. Shakur Stevenson and Oscar Valdez, two excellent fighters. And I do believe, safe to say, the two best guys in that weight class, where one has the WBC belt, the other one has the WBO. You still have the WBA out there with Gutierrez, and I can't recall who owns the WBO. I don't think it's Ogawa, but it's excuse me, not the WBO, the IBF. But forgive me for not remembering who the guy that owns the IBF is. But the best two guys, the center of that division, is definitely Shakur Stevenson and Oscar Valdez. Oscar Valdez was a champion at 126. Shakur Stevenson was a champion at 126 at the same time. Both move up, and now they're actually going to fight one another at 130. The weigh-in was interesting. Shakur Stevenson comes in right on the head at 130 pounds. In fact, he actually had to take off all of his clothes in order to make the weight. At first, he came in must have come over slightly over, but then they bring in the little barrier so that you can't see him, strips down all the way, makes the weight at 130 pounds. Oscar Valdez comes in, gets on the scale. I believe that he weighed in at 129 point something pounds, maybe 129.6, but something real, came in comfortably under the weight. In Oscar Valdez, and you can take that, two ways. One is, Oscar Valdez, I do believe, is a smaller guy than Shakur Stevenson. And, so I think it may be a little bit easier for him to make the weight. So he was definitely fit, definitely ready, looked cut, all of that stuff. Shakur Stevenson didn't look quite as cut as Oscar Valdez did. But you could see that Shakur Stevenson is probably going to put on a lot of weight between now and the fight day. And the funny thing is, and I noticed this in this weigh-in and also a weigh-in that happened earlier today with Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. Oscar Valdez came in when they did their face-off. He came in there with his shoes on, and Shakur Stevenson came in barefoot, and Shakur Stevenson was still a little bit taller than him, but he put his shoes on real quick to make sure that he could look at that man eye to eye. Same thing I noticed that Katie Taylor did. I don't know if they're trying to get a little bit of a psychological advantage, but Amanda Serrano weighed in barefoot. They all weighed in barefoot, but she faced off barefoot, but Katie Taylor weighed sure to put her shoes on, so it looked like Katie Taylor was a little bit taller than Amanda Serrano, but pretty much paying attention to it all during the interviews and all that, I know that Shakur Stevens a good bit taller than Oscar Valdez, and Amanda Serrano's a little bit taller than Katie Taylor. So I thought that was a little bit telling. Now the face-off itself, Shakur Stevenson They glared in each other's eyes. Oscar Valdez looking forward, trying to look mean. Shakur Stevenson thought about smiling, tried to break a smile for a second, but then when Oscar Valdez kept mean mugging him, he basically didn't break his smile and just kept staring at him. Oscar Valdez, the first person to break the stare down was Oscar Valdez. He was the first one to look away. And Shakur Stevenson kept staring at the side of his head. Now, what does that mean? Not much, because that's the exact same thing that happened last weekend, or excuse me, the weekend before last, when Errol Spence Jr. fought Yordenis Ugas, and Yordenis Ugas was staring down Errol Spence Jr., and Errol Spence Jr. turned to face the cameras first. Yordenis Ugas stayed lingering, at the side of the head, staring at the side of the head of Errol Spence Jr., and that wound up being absolutely nothing, because Errol came in there and wound up, stopping him in. I can't remember what the round is. Wound up maybe the 10th round. Wind up stopping him by having the doctor call off the fight in the 10th round. So wouldn't put too much into that stare down. The other thing that happened is, Shakur Stevenson also, basically tried to bullied Oscar Valdez in the pictures, stood in front of him and, flexed, stood like legitimately all the way in front of him, but Oscar Valdez, for his part, didn't take the bait, didn't get mad, just, kind of went on about his business. So, I think, as far as trying to figure out what happened in the weigh-in, the best thing that I could say is that it looked like Shakur Stevenson was bigger than Oscar Valdez. It looked like he came dead on weight, where Oscar Valdez came a little bit underneath it. Oscar Valdez is probably, was definitely, this is a fight. This is going to be the hardest fight for Oscar Valdez in his career. He's going to have to do something exceptional, I think, to get past Shakur Stevenson, who is just, I think it's safe to say is just a more well-rounded fighter, a more talented fighter than Oscar Valdez. And Oscar Valdez is going to have to come in there and impose his will on Shakur Stevenson, and is really, really going to have to do a lot of work, throw a lot of punches, and, and pretty much, and at the same time, avoid himself getting broken down by Shakur Stevenson to pull off this fight. I think that this is more than likely going to be a coming out party for Shakur Stevenson, and it really does have the potential of being the fight that can make Shakur Stevenson a very, very big star in the sport. Right now, he is, as far as the lightweight division, the super featherweight division, that 126, 130, 135, that range, a fighter, I think that, Shakur Stevenson may very well be the most talented may be the most talented of all the guys in that weight class. But early on in his career, he was not put out in the forefront as much by Top Rank as, say, a guy that came out around the same time as he, being, in Teofimo Lopez. They put a lot of the, emphasis on a lot of the promotion behind Teofimo Lopez. But now that Teofimo Lopez went pop, it seems like they made that fight for Oscar Valdez. They made that fight for Shakur Stevenson. And Shakur Stevenson should come out not just looking like a champ, but become the unified champ at that weight division. Very confident that he should be able to win the fight. Again, I did a video the other day. Also on the line for him is this WBO super champion status. So if he does that and if he gets that, wins and is able to and wants to go up to 135, he should be able to challenge for the belts up there as well. So all in all, really looking forward to the fight. Shakur Stevenson looked good. Oscar Valdez looked good and very, very intent. Oscar Valdez has got his work cut out for him to get past this young dude, Shakur. Shakur is very, very much the real deal. Also, on a little side note, very black fight card. I know people may not have sat there and counted, but I think Bob Arum is trying to do his best to make it look like he does not have a problem promoting black fighters, because I think there may have been one fight, maybe two fights, but I think there's only one fight that didn't have a black fighter on that on that entire card, from the undercard, the undercard weigh-in to the main event weigh-in. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.